tell everybody who you are, sir, and introduce your team.
Okay,
Please.
Mayor and everyone. My name is Fran Mullen. I'm with T&M Associates. I work with the Borough Engineer's Office, Dale Lubner, as you all may know. With me are my team of specialized technical people from my office, which is based in Middletown. I'm a municipal engineer also, but I am the supervisor or director of all the FEMA-related storm recovery projects and initiatives that the firm is undergoing. With me is Dan Matson and Jenna Stagliano. They are project management and task manager level technical people that have worked with me since the storm, writing PWs, amending the PWs, coming up with the scope of improvements, the cost estimates, the project schedules and sequences. We meet with and deal with FEMA and the state OEM personnel directly on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis, managing dozens of projects similar to your community center. The other three folks are Stephanie, Dana, and Lori. They are trained and have access to the EM grant program that's run by FEMA and the state OEM. That is the web-based PW processing system. They all are involved with cost estimates, the writing of the scopes of work, shaping up the PWs, tracking them in the system, and then ultimately, toward the end of the process, assembling all the massive amount of documentation and paperwork that has to get cataloged, organized, and submitted to the state OEM so that the municipality can receive the 90% reimbursement funding to replace and replenish the money that the borough will spend. All of this, as you all read and hear about, is very cumbersome. It's a very meticulous process. FEMA is very difficult to understand, very difficult to comply with. Their personnel change over a month or two. You get accustomed to working with someone. They rotate them out. And it becomes a pretty big challenge and somewhat of a gauntlet to go through the process. And many of the projects get challenged. With your community center, I believe we can take it forward with a schedule that I'll discuss and present. We understand the scope of the damage. We understand the design approach. We've consulted with the project architect, Joe Tomeno. We have sat with Anna Vidal and Rosa Torres, two key state OEM folks that are assigned to work with the borough on all the capital improvements, and they are focused on the community center. They understand the urgency and what we're trying to establish and then move forward with. They work with Pat Gorman, who's a high-ranking, I believe he's a captain in the state police, who supervises their work, and we're working with Dave McNabb, who is one of those folks with FEMA who has recently been assigned to this project and the borough, but all FEMA personnel are pretty well versed. We just have to make sure we get their attention and they make decisions and give us the information we need so that we can do this one step at a time. And it's critically important that we follow every single step in sequence and get their buy-in and sign-off every step of the way, because every one of these projects will ultimately result in the borough fronting all the money for the hard and soft costs, get the work completed. We will submit all of that documentation to the state of New Jersey. They will audit it and review it, and if we do it right, which we have, and I'll speak to our track record, they will then distribute the money back to the borough at 90% of all your costs, both all the construction costs and the engineering and architectural fees, which they refer to as CAP, direct administrative costs. We have been directly involved and have led projects just like this one in virtually every town from Union Beach, Keensburg, Monmouth Beach, Seabright, the Leonardo and Fort Monmouth sections of Middletown, Atlantic Highlands. The entire Atlantic Highlands Marina was designed, rebuilt, and reimbursed in full compliance with FEMA by my team, my office. So we feel that we can understand the process going forward, and I believe at this point in time, we will proceed with the goal of getting the final design plans finished with the architect. This has to go out to public bid. It will be awarded to a low bid general contractor. The scope of them, and we're expecting to finish the bid documents in the next 8 weeks, so in the months of April and May. We believe the bid documents will be finished. We are scheduled to advertise the last week in May so that we can open bids and be in a position to award a construction contract at your June 17th council meeting, which is a extremely aggressive schedule and sequence. There's a lot to do every single day leading up to that, but it is doable, I believe, if everything goes the way it should. We have a commitment from Anna Vidal, who is an expert with the state OEM, to meet with us here in the borough when we need her to make sure everything we do is completely compliant with all the FEMA regulations and the state OEM. If we are able to award the construction contract at the June 17th meeting, we would have the contracts executed. We can have a pre-construction meeting within about a week. The contractor can mobilize within about a week after that. We think the contractor will need essentially 10 to 12 weeks, like a 3-month window, start to finish, to complete the work. Now, this entire sequence that I'm explaining or describing is predicated on something that we've been able to clarify and accomplish with FEMA in the last several days, and the state OEM. They have agreed to our position that the best available information that should drive the engineering and the design of the improvements should be the 2014 A zone designation on the most current flood maps. And they've agreed to that. They have stipulated that we can renovate or repair the building in its current elevation, at its current floor elevation, and flood-proof the first floor up to the first 2 feet of the interior space. Up until recently, FEMA has been waffling back and forth, and you all heard the stories about the earlier version of the plans right after the storm, and then they changed a few times, and now they're going to get finally adopted in 6 or 12 months. Up until recently, FEMA was requiring that the design be predicated on the 2009 maps that have the property in a V zone with an elevation required of 12. The A zone with an elevation requirement of 11 is a huge benefit and simplifies and speeds up the design, and it will reduce the cost and speed up the actual repairs and renovations. Up until recently, the design approach was including raising the floor of the building, jacking it up probably 3 feet above its current elevation of 10.4. It had to get to elevation 13 with the lowest structural member at least at elevation 12. So there has been some pre-design and project approach that included all of that work and the construction of new footings, new steel reinforced concrete piers to raise this building up. The fact that FEMA and state OEM have agreed with our approach to allow it to stay at elevation 10.4, so the floor and the foundation of the building will not change. We simply have to go in and now design improvements for the first 2 feet above the existing floor to be what they call floodproof. It's a much simpler, faster, cheaper renovation exercise. It's still all going to be code compliant. It's still going to be renovated to the level previously envisioned by the mayor and the administration. So it's not that we are doing anything that is substandard. It is still going to be the finished product that we all envisioned. It's simply not going to be 3 feet higher or 2.5 feet higher. I think the rest of it is manageable. I think it's pretty straightforward. I do think we have to work with FEMA and state OEM every single day. We have to get their physical sign-off on everything we do. But I think if we take this approach, it's doable if everybody does their part and everything lines up and we award a contract on June 17th.
Fran, can you, if you don't mind, give to the public your suggestions you have about incorporating, which we said is a large volunteer base? What would your recommendation be that the council is going to consider how we incorporate that?
Based on my experience and my understanding and the consulting that I do for municipalities over almost 30 years now, it's my recommendation and advice, but much of it is based on the idea that you are precluded from having borough, public works, volunteers enter a construction zone once we award a publicly bid construction contract. I think there is an opportunity for volunteers who want to participate to come in to the facility before the contractor takes control of it, because once he does, he's totally liable for the protection of this property, the entire building and the surrounding, from trespass, vandalism, people getting hurt, kids climbing in there, somebody gets hurt. His insurance has implications and restrictions. The borough's insurance has implications and restrictions. So there's a liability if something were to go wrong. You also would open yourselves up to delay claims and finger pointing and, quite frankly, scapegoating. We go in there as volunteers and do some good work on any given day. The general contractor could, and in all likelihood in my experience, try to exploit us because he's going to point to something that we did or didn't do that somehow slowed him down or caused him cost or overruns, and he'll try to exploit us financially. I do think, though, there is a big opportunity for volunteers to get together. We can go in an organized fashion. FEMA will require that we get everybody's name and street address, make sure we get credit for that labor, make sure it's part of our direct administrative costs. Everybody gets identified as a willing participant. We control and organize. We go in and do whatever we deem suitable for the group of volunteers that you send. Okay, and it might be, gutting the first floor, it might be taking out the windows and doors and loading up dumpsters and doing what we would consider some prep work before the general contractor shows up. Once he shows up, then it has to shift to his entire responsibility and control for the building and the surroundings. So that would be my recommendation on how to incorporate.
It sounds reasonable to me, and Ms. Ryan has offered, because she is the liaison of Parks and Rec, to be the volunteer head from the coordinator, from the director, from the borough council table. So what I thought we should do is, because this is obviously an issue everybody wants to ask questions and talk about, let's have an open session right now to start and go around the room. Anybody at the table want to comment first?
I just want to say, I mean, literally, TNM just came on board with this role in our town. It's been fantastic, and not to slight Cammie, she's not on the TNM team, but she did a huge job in coordinating the meeting and getting professionals together and kind of being almost the borough mag, if you will, to get everybody in place and to have that educated conversation where you're not only, coming up with timelines, but really pushing each other to get to the dates that we can get. And when I spoke to the mayor today, I didn't really feel there was any other way we could get it sooner with the amount of information that we've gotten over the last few days, really, and especially having FEMA's buy-in is probably one of the biggest accomplishments that we can, not only could you not get them on the phone before, they actually came to 19 Day yesterday and sat in a meeting.
At 4:30 in the afternoon and stayed till 6.
Yeah.
So I would just like to echo that Kim is a huge catalyst, and she's a pit bull. She is tenacious. She does not stop, and they have her in their speed dial, and she has access to them via cell phone, and they pick up her call. So as a qualified purchasing agent who has done this for municipalities to make sure the financing is done right and FEMA compliance is key, she has just developed a professional relationship with these folks who need people on our side of this, just like her, to make sure things get done and move forward and are done by the book.
Absolutely.
Trust me when I tell you, I have 3 kids young down there. They want to be in that community center. My wife runs the Girl Scouts in town. We used to be cooking for the Girl Scouts in there twice a month in the kitchen in there. There's nobody more frustrated than me, and I know it's very bad cooking today. I'm sorry when we got the news it couldn't be sooner, and one of the components involved is holding us back from having it done for the summer. If we started the process again without this other component, we got another individual, we would be back into the same spot we are in the fall. So we're going to go forward. We're just as frustrated, if not more, than anybody else. I look at it every day. My kids look at it every day, and they can't use it, and it bothers me more than you can imagine. Do you have any comments?
Yeah, I certainly do. Okay, most of you who know me know how I have been pushing this since the storm, since even before I was elected to sit up here. So I was just told tonight about this and moving forward with volunteer days. I do know that there's a group of over 100 people who have signed an online petition. And I do hope to speak with Barbara Iannucci, who has put that together, to see if we can work together to get a group of people to continue, not to continue, to go forward with the work that they wanted to do. I think it's great. I think we can do it. I know it can be open by the end of the summer, and let's do it.
Brief comment. Just so you're aware, we've let I know we're not tolerating any delays. We want zero tolerance. His team is, Salia's team has good goals, and we can get it done. We're going to demand that. We have an architect issue, but I think we're going to work through it and get it done. But something that should have been done 6-7 months ago, as Becky said, there's been some difficulties. But between the community's support and the council support and demand of the team, it's going to get done.
And to Doug's point, to expand on it, we all agreed on this too. If it is not ready for June 17th, which is quote unquote the second meeting in June, we made it clear that any day, any time, any place, we're having a meeting to approve it in June, and that will obviously be a public meeting. So if 3 of us have to be here at 5 in the morning, 3 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, it's happening. So, anything else?
So you're saying the council will stay until it's approved?
I didn't hear, I apologize.
That you guys are going to stay until it's
Well, what happens is you have 2 scheduled meetings in a month, but you can have a special meeting anytime. So what we said, because the way the RFPs go out, you have to advertise by certain things and da-da-da-da. I don't care if it's a Sunday, a Monday, Tuesday, whatever, anytime in June, if it doesn't come by June 17th, we're having a meeting in June to approve it. So we go forward. We made that all crystal clear, and I'm sure Mr. Redmond feels the same way. He's not here tonight. Somebody want to start? It's over here. Name and address if you...
Carolyn Brouillon, 12 Miller Street. When I lived in New York, I was a volunteer with Habitat for Humanity for many years. And I'm sure everyone, well, I shouldn't say that. I'm not sure if everyone knows how it works, but craftsmen, architects, engineers volunteer their time. You get a groundswell of people that work under those people, and we renovated brownstones in Brooklyn to apartment buildings in Manhattan with teams of volunteers under direct supervision by licensed contractors, plumbers, electricians, the whole gamut. Your timeline of what you're saying you need your contractor to do in 10 to 12 weeks for a hardening and not raising and just moving essential services is more than twice what it took to completely rehab our first floor and raise our house onto piers. So your timeline, I don't understand, of 10 to 12 weeks for the contractor to do the work. And having worked in a place where it was a team of volunteers working with professionals, I still don't understand your timeline, because it should not, I've been to the community center, I've seen it doesn't need 10 to 12 weeks worth of work. It doesn't need to be raised, it doesn't need to be, it's already been gutted, it's been remediated for mold. I can't understand the time, and I can't understand why we can't do it in a different fashion. I'm done.
Can I just respond a little bit?
Sure.
I'm on the advisory committee for the Habitat for Humanity here in Monmouth County, so I understand and I totally respect everything that you just said. It's a great mission, and almost every single one of these people on the team has done their volunteer work throughout the Bay Shore communities. I would just suggest that those of you that may be familiar with architecture or consulting services or contracting, when we say 12 weeks, we refer to that as a 3-month or a 90-day construction contract duration. There is shop drawings and submittals that have to get shaped up in the first couple of weeks or several days. There are lead times for the ordering of the materials. You got to keep in mind that we are working in the public arena with federal government and municipal tax dollars. So everything we do has to be done by a low bid contractor. The folks you were surrounded by and the folks we were surrounded by with Habitat had Lowe's, Home Depot, Chase Bank, and everybody surrounding us with the horsepower that you could do things in 5 days. That's going to take 5 weeks, because it is not that well-oiled machine with a whole lot of people that are committed to this mission. We write the specifications as tight as we can. We have liquidated damages that if he's not done on day 31, he starts paying us penalties. But there is only so much I can build in. There may only be 15 days of real construction activity, but there's 2-3 weeks worth of shop drawings and submittals to get people signed off and get the permits in place for code compliance and inspections. Then he has to order the HVAC equipment and other pieces of longer lead time. They have to get delivered to the site while he has his carpenters and his masons or his electricians doing the work. And then there's a closeout period. There is going to be punch lists, there's going to be FEMA inspections, and there's a lot of layers that Habitat can strip through because of their mission with private enterprise that we can't. And it's just a little bit more of a bureaucratic and sluggish process. But I can tell you that even though it doesn't seem like a great big deal because you're familiar with how to get this done, 90 days, 3 months to get this work finished is as tight as we could possibly compress it. If we make it 60 days or something, you can't make it shorter with the contracting requirements, the signing of contracts, getting the borough attorney to bless things, and so on. There's other steps that we have to take that are behind the scenes and not necessarily construction related. So I don't disagree with the notion that 15, 20 days of real construction, we should be done, but there's the front end and the back end that does take some time.
Dr. Basinger, 12 Miller Street. Is the reason why this has been all of a sudden put on the plate due to the people signing the petition?
It's due to the fact that they just let us go to an A zone from the B zone.
But it wasn't on the agenda until yesterday,
answer that.
correct?
I can answer it. The meeting that we were having scheduled for yesterday was scheduled about 2 weeks ago. Okay, so the meeting was set. The timing of what you're referring to had nothing to do with the actions that were taken yesterday. And I do applaud the fact that the FEMA rep, a phone call was made from our pit bull, and she drove up from Seagirt knowing that we were still meeting. I mean, we had a meeting in the afternoon. She came up at 4:30 and really answered some of the hardline questions, and got on the phone with her supervisor with the scenario that we've been talking about, and you folks have heard me talk about for months, and we got action. So I will say this, it had nothing to do with any actions or anything that has taken place up to that.
Kim Scork at 315 F Shore Drive. I know that FEMA's going to cover 90%, but I'd like to try and minimize that 10% as much as possible. Can we work on getting materials donated from Home Depot, Lowe's, Builders General, anything like that?
That may be a Kim question.
The short answer is we can work on it. If we can accomplish any significant donations, we can write a spec that says we're going to provide the sheetrock on site on a date specific. We can deliver.
I have a garage if you need to store it.
We appreciate that, and be careful. We might take you up on those kinds of offers. But normally we would say we would bank into the contract. We'd get a credit from the contractor and say, look, we know what the plywood or the sheetrock costs. We're going to deliver it to you on the site. You give me a 72 hours notice. You tell us when you want it, and if we can get Lowe's or Robin Hood money or Home Depot to dedicate something like that, we can work that into the construction sequence, and it will save the borough money.
So there is a process to do that.
Yes.
Okay.
Also, I want to know if there's any way to put into the contract a bonus for early completion. I know on a lot bigger projects, state projects, sometimes they have that, especially if it's a critical infrastructure. And also, just making sure that we're on the same page. If they have delays and they go beyond the deadline, that they start paying us back.
Correct.
There's some sort of
That's
penalty.
right.
Is there
It's a
a
liquidated
acceleration
damages.
clause you could do also to be done sooner or not?
Yeah, there's a termination clauses we bake into all the contracts. We have legal requirements because it is a public bid. The incentive, the bonus incentives, I have never done. I don't know that they're legal. I don't think we can use taxpayer money, and I know FEMA would not.
Jen, you want to speak to that? Jen, no?
FEMA will not reimburse that additional portion that you pay.
Okay.
It's actual cost.
But we can get the materials donated, it sounds
Yeah,
like.
anybody, like Cooper Electric, for example,
You have to get a
donated.
written approval from FEMA for any donated resources.
Which
So-
we
It
would
has to
do.
be by American,
We
it has to
would
be,
do.
you have to look for the whole.
And that's a good point. Buy American, you can't do business with Iran, all these
Yeah.
government, federal regulations get baked into the contract. So we would control that, we would help process that. If there's a legitimate Home Depot, Lowe's, Cooper Electric, they're gonna comply with all the things we need them to comply with, but we need a serious commitment. We need to know the specification, the delivery time, the type of truck, and we have to orchestrate it.
And all in writing, obviously, and.
And everything in writing, way in advance, so that FEMA can sign off on it. But it is doable if we can accomplish that.
Thank you.
Let's go to the next slide first. I'll get to you, sir. Sir, do you have any questions on this matter? Mr. Mullen, any questions on this matter? Sir? Okay. Sir, you have any questions? Charles? Yeah.
Charles LaRue, 12 Second Street. Reimbursement grant. I've had some large issues in this town specifically in regards to reimbursement issues with FEMA, all the way back to Irene and through Sandy. So some of the liaisons that have been put in place have been negligent 100%, and not even answered phone calls, emails, etc. What is the fact if we cannot get reimbursed? How do we know we're going to be, or how do we move
You talking
forward?
about the community center?
Yes.
Okay.
But it's a reimbursement grant. This is to be contracted paid out by us and then reimbursed by
That's
FEMA.
fine.
But how do we know that FEMA will be 100% paying us back, and how are we going to be on top of them to do it? Because it seems that other people have been put in your position before and have not truly been checked up on.
Legitimate question.
We have a track record, and all the people that I'm reciting are engaged with us in a dozen municipalities in the same situation, and we have already gotten back $20 million for Atlantic Highlands. The money has arrived in their bank account. In my opinion, in my view, it's all about making sure whatever you input and download into their system before it starts getting reviewed and moves downstream for reimbursement purposes, it has to be flawless. They are somewhat negligent and bureaucratic on the state OEM side. We have to have the pit bull mentality. We get judged and either stay with a client because our success rate of reimbursement or not. We have to deliver those results or we're not in place.
But there is no guarantee, again.
No, to say there's no guarantee, I'm not clear of what your question is.
For say,
FEMA's even, and we've had discussion with them, which is out of the norm, of possibly doing advance for us, which they normally don't do.
Right.
So we're in discussion, so once they sign off and the PW is in there and approved, it's actual cost. So say we even miss it by a couple dollars. If we spend more based on whatever, it's actual cost. That once that PW's in, they're guaranteeing us that money is
And
there.
what I would suggest.
It's not like the REM programs and the other programs.
It's
totally different.
That's wonderful.
And it's not the same people.
And you got,
They
it's totally
don't,
different.
these folks don't even deal with the REM stuff. They're in public assistance, which is a
Different
part of
division,
the FEMA for public buildings. So I'm pretty confident on that.
You good?
Yeah.
You have any questions? No? No?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Is this
Barbara, I'm sorry, name and address just for the record, please.
Barbara Iannucci, 28 Shrewsbury Avenue. Is this considered a critical structure?
No, it has been declared a non-critical structure, not
And
only
it
by
is a-
us, but by FEMA and state OEM.
So,
We couldn't get it defined as classified as a critical structure, even if we wanted to.
because I did a lot of reading today on floodproofing, critical, non-critical structures, etc. And I concur with Carolyn. There are, it's not as overwhelming to us as homeowners who have gone through from the ground up new construction and from renovating homes to meet FEMA codes. And when it's not a critical structure, travel many more hoops through FEMA that as private homeowners we don't have to deal with, being that you're working with public money. But I did read something that concerned me. FEMA does have this 90% reimbursement, but then if you do not have flood insurance or NFIP flood insurance on that structure as a municipality, they would automatically deduct from
Their PW estimated amount.
yes, the amount that your value of your flood insurance should have been. So to use an example, you can cap at 500,000 for a critical structure, for structure, 500,000 for content. They would automatically take 1 million off that 90%. Is that going to apply here?
You're right on the money with your understanding of what you read, because that is happening in a couple of critical facility projects that I'm working with. No, I don't believe that's going to happen here. I don't think there's any discounting or deduction because of lack of insurance.
Because it's not a critical service.
Because it's not critical.
Non-critical.
I don't know if that's the reason. No, it's not because it's not a critical facility, but I'll have to vet that out and confirm that. That's not a piece that would be germane to my program management of this. If there is a lack of insurance coverage, or you didn't get your claim approved, we have to vet that out.
Ken, you want to speak to it?
The deduction has already been within PWC, so anything additional that's covered for the building is additional. It's already been deducted. All your deductions have already been made for your PW that are
So-
existing.
Existing, so you're saying they're existing in that 10%, or they're existing?
They're existing in
In
all
our
PWs
final
that you have, everything that you have written already has already had its deductions taken out. So if they've already promised 100,000, this is just a number thrown out. Anything, yeah, but if anything that they throw in above that, you don't get deducted again off of that.
Yeah, so it's off the grant. The grant.
It's already done, it's already
Gross
done.
and the net.
Right.
But now,
NFIP deduction you're talking, right?
now with the architect, based on what we've heard at meetings, that process was already done, was it not?
Not fully completed, no. He started work and he's probably 30 to 40% design.
What was that on the old way or the new
Because
way?
that seems to be a
That
lot
was
of
a
our
combination
timeline.
of the old that now has to be modified, but he was 30 to 40% design. But this changes things, but not that dramatically. Yesterday, before we had the meeting with FEMA, I think it was a little bit more concerning to us, but afterwards, I think that relieved a lot of our concerns as well. I think it's
And
gonna
that
be-
seemed, did someone mention that's kind of like one of your delays going on now, getting that nailed down with the architect?
Yes.
Okay. So are you getting a new architect? Do we have to get an RFP for an architect
Well, I would
also?
just suggest this. There are no delays currently. We are going to be working on this going forward. We already have the scope change being considered by FEMA and OEM. So a lot of the work to date has been the haggling over what's required, how much should it cost, how much is FEMA eligible, will they approve the design intent, the design approach, the peers, et cetera. That's all been clarified. We are now working, the architect's going to go forward with finalizing his design plans and his construction documents for public bidding. That's going to take 6 or 8 weeks.
Okay, so we don't have the final cost yet, or an estimated cost?
We have an estimated cost.
What is that?
Right now, the estimated cost is somewhere in the neighborhood of about $800,000.
For making this flood proof?
That's
So
right.
are we, when you say design, are we coming up with a whole new structure, or are we gonna work with what's pre-existing?
We're going to work with what's pre-existing and renovate, repair, restore, and flood-proof the building that we have now. It's an estimate. As we get closer to the final design and the flood-proofing techniques, and the architect gets closer to an 80% design set of drawings, he'll do another cut of the estimate, and it may go up a little, it may come down.
And that's for the structure, or does that include all the fees, consulting fees, architect fees? Is
I
that the
believe
grant?
I believe,
That's a grand total?
yes.
According to the bid, right.
Oh,
Yes.
all right, that makes more sense.
Subject to refinement as the design gets more developed.
And then obviously go out to all the bid for the.
Yes.
Okay, what kind of feedback has the council been giving the residents on this? Can we get
I think that we can, if we don't have it out already, we can put the timeline out.
I mean, as the work is going on,
Oh, yeah, I think that the benchmarks are literally the timeline.
okay.
And I think when we're, from what Fran said, and we'll talk about it again, in public at the council meeting, we'll have some sort of, at least it sounds like a 2 to 3 week window to do a volunteer work down there. And in the meantime, we can also have somebody or a couple people working on possible donation.
And I don't want to get into wish lists here, because I hate them, but I do know a lot of residents were hoping for some form of a public restroom where they didn't have to get the key in order to use the restroom if they were using the community center. And so, I don't want to add $100,000 to your estimate, but public restrooms in places there.
I will take a look at it with the architect, but fundamentally, what we have to keep in mind is that the FEMA 90% reimbursement
Will not cover it.
is keyed into getting us back to pre-storm conditions
Right.
with no owner upgrades. If we want to expand or create an exterior access to a restroom,
Porsche.
and it's an addition to the building, that's all borough money,
Okay.
not subject to reimbursement.
And if the citizens got together and managed to get pro bono services and building materials and contractors to do that pro bono, would that interfere or put a snag into your FEMA process of approval?
In other words, should you do it at the same time, Barbara? Right? Probably not, right? Because once it's using.
I would say you would be better served to these competing concerns, right? You want to make sure you do everything streamlined so FEMA doesn't have to think about anything
There's no reason for them to
unusual.
stop you, basically.
Well, what if we set it up before you come in? And there and all you gotta do is water.
That would be an improved project, and that would be just about like going to amend the entire PW. So they would actually have to, you'd have to submit your plans, your timeline and everything to them, and they would have to approve it. Even if you're not asking them for the money, they have to approve it because they have interest in the building.
Is that even after we're done?
No.
Okay, so.
I think at that point, if there's that.
You
much-
want
Once
to
they do a
close
final
out.
sign off, we can do it,
So
right?
the question,
Well, I think if people are that interested in a public restroom, you can also build one on each
I would
facility
say
after the
that
fact.
would be-
But if you're
Do it
watching,
like
but
Secret
if you're
has done
watching,
that.
if we're watching our budgets and everything else,
Let's see what we get in donations.
Okay.
and other stuff.
well, thank you.
Sir?
Hey, Greg Wells, 246 Bayside Drive. Real quick, love the idea that you're gonna not raise it and get it done quick. Is that in any way going to impact our recurring insurance costs year over year?
No, interestingly enough, as far as I can tell, the feedback is there have been no other insurance claims on this building for storm damage. It hasn't been inundated with other storm events. And state OEM doesn't want us to go through any extra steps because ultimately FEMA's going to disqualify it. They're going to say, look, if you can live with the elevation it's at, flood-proof it, and that's the level of protection that's warranted for this non-critical facility, it's the least cost, fastest option, and that's really what FEMA mandates. It's got to be the least cost option. So, no, I don't think you're increasing your risk. I don't think you're increasing your insurance premiums.
Fran, this will satisfy FEMA 100% because it's a non-residential building, so you can flood-proof a non-residential building in an A zone and meet full FEMA compliance, full insurance, ratables, everything.
We'll have flood insurance.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll be required to have flood insurance on that.
Right, but it'll satisfy their requirements.
And they, okay, not, it's not
Nope.
gonna cost us more.
Not at all,
Drive it out,
not at all.
that's the cost, basically.
Cool, thanks.
Dan, go ahead.
I
Name and
have a
address.
few questions. Nancy Burton, 22 Atlantic Street,
In the garden.
in the garden,
I get a plumber.
Forest, at 69, whatever chapter. Homeowners who are now raising their homes, there's funding through FEMA to install elevators. Is that something the purchasing agent has seen or the engineers have seen that we could get some funding for an elevator to the second floor of the
Nancy, thinking for the homeowners, which I work with, I don't think there's funding for elevators except in special cases. It's for a lift or a ramp.
Okay, so a
Okay.
lift
Right, and we're
is
ADA
an
compliant already.
exterior lift versus an interior elevator. Okay. So,
We understand that, but you don't
Yeah.
have to be the second story.
We have a ramp
okay, wonderful.
and it's,
I'm wondering where the grant that we were previously awarded, the,
Snowflake?
yes, where does that fall in
Then you can
with
check that
this?
out.
Could that be used for doors to the bathrooms or upgraded
It was for
Wi-Fi?
specific things, but.
Okay, the Snowflake Foundation money was granted to do the upgrades to the non-FEMA portion of the playground, the basketball court and the tennis court. If we shift those funds to a FEMA eligible project, FEMA then will deduct that dollar. So we would shift money that we have earmarked for a project that's not FEMA eligible, shift it to a FEMA eligible, take the loss, and then still not get the other project done. So if you follow my train, I understand why everyone was saying that, why don't we just shift it? But FEMA will deduct that, and we won't get reimbursed 90% on top of that. So we would lose, for like argument's sake, $90,000. We'd shift it to the center, but not get the playground and the other structure done. Now,
So later can use it on the basketball?
oh yeah, it should be used, in my opinion, but that's just my opinion on what it was intended. Now, Snowflake did give us dollars to do a resilient type floor inside the building. So they did commit monies, $30,000 to do a resilient floor inside the building, something a little more resilient and hopefully a little more durable than tile over concrete. So they did commit to that
Is
inside.
that gonna be deducted from there?
Well,
That
what
may-
what you're describing is, what their term is duplication of benefits. You can't get donated
Take a
money
big
and then
loss.
their money on top of it and get overlap. So if you get $10,000 for your floor, you're not gonna get $10,000 from FEMA for your floor.
We're not gonna get to 90% return, and we get that.
So, I
In
just
other words,
also,
it says,
The question is, does it apply to donated materials? It does in this sense. If Home Depot donates $50,000 of anything, you have suffered no loss. It didn't cost you anything. FEMA is only going to pay you back for real dollars you can show a receipt and a check for.
Not
So when we submit the checks for the contractors, we
Sure,
buy the
sure.
sheetrock, it would be eligible reimbursement by FEMA. But if you get something donated and you do not incur a cost to get that donation, you can't apply for that
so we'll not
value.
come for our 10%.
What's that?
It will not relieve our 10% of number.
Correct. Not in this scenario. 90% is the most you can achieve, no matter how you slice it.
Okay.
so also as a
Okay,
resident who regulars the Snug Harbor Beach, I would just like to say that I would love to see doors added to the bathroom whenever we possibly can. And maybe when this project is done and we have such a large group of volunteers who want to do nice things, a lot of beachgoers have also expressed an interest in rentable, lockable lockers to store our beach items, townspeople and people from out of town. So that's on another note. And also, does this mean that we'll hear some good news about our other municipal buildings soon, now that we're in FEMA's ear with the bulldogs?
Well, they don't know it yet, but that's their next project.
There's quite a few goals.
But we don't want anyone to take their eye off of this one until it's done.
Right, I know.
Or at least we're into the RFP
It's like a
process.
wish list, but.
Correct.
Thank you.
You got it. Sir, you have any questions, sir? No? Ma'am? Question? Linda?
Tricia Rivera, 31 Highlands. Can we build a bathroom outside and lockers for the basketball courts and the playground area?
We can, but that would just be on our dime.
Or maybe
No,
just
out
one
of the
thing.
snowflake fund, since
I
that's.
don't know, it's for surfaces,
why
right?
it
I don't
covers
think you'd be able to
everything.
stretch that money to, and I'm gonna ballpark an outside, give me a ballpark, what, 25 grand?
Restroom for men
Yeah.
and women, $125,000, $150,000.
That's not including the resurface and other things.
So I hear what you're saying, but I think the cost, we have to really look at.
I don't agree with that, I'm sorry. If the public had the right resources and it independently, it's not possible.
So that'll be our next one. Let's get it open.
It's a good point.
All right, guys.
It's a great.
Ma'am, did you have anything else? Okay.
Katie, 7 North Harbor Avenue. I'm really happy that we're talking about this. I think it's great for the community. Tim, I know you've been at the community center for a long time, so I went there when I was 5 years old. It's important to the community. So I'm
You're
really
only
happy.
5?
How long you've known me. So I'm really happy that we're trying to move forward. I know it's frustrating. I work for the government. I get the bureaucracy. I get the layers. They do that for a reason. I would just encourage us all to be transparent, to try and keep the channels open because that's important. And also accountability. you guys gotta be held accountable, everybody, email works great as per our conversation, just, because otherwise it's, I didn't really say that, I didn't really mean that, I didn't really, so I think we can do it, we're quite capable.
Agreed, thank you. Got a question? Back there?
And yes.
On the bathrooms.
Name and address, please, for the record.
Miranda Nolan, 51 Forge Avenue, Highlands, New Jersey. The bathrooms, I agree that we want a bathroom.
And a
As
shower.
far as the doors go, if I kind of remember correctly, I don't want to say, it was part of safety issues when your children are in that community center Monday through Friday for the summer program, or Monday through Friday during after-school programs. When the door was on the outside, okay, you as anyone in the public could go in there, use the bathroom, and your children could be there, unsafe. So they got rid of the doors, you have to come through the front, enter, show you need the bathroom, when the community center's open, and go in. Alternative, bathroom outside, one unisex bathroom would do, tile from floor to ceiling, easy wash down, walk away, be finished. With the little spout outside to wash your feet as perfect. You're going to leave. But that will cost money. So if we cannot get the funding, and if we can't get the people to give the time and the money to do it, we have to find ways to do that. Yes. So if people are willing to do that, that would be one of the wonderful benefits of volunteering.
You want to work on that with Ms. Ryan?
No.
Okay.
No, come on, you wanna work with me, you just had too much to do.
All right, we're good. We're going to the back first. Oh, sorry, go ahead. Sorry, boss.
Now she can't remember.
Yeah.
Okay, just actually back to the bathrooms and then the safety of the kids as well. I do understand the 90 days, we need it as quick as possible. Please do your best to get it done as fast as we can. Our children are waiting and want to get in there. My Girl Scouts are dying to get back there. We do a lot of things in that community center that we haven't been able to do for a long time, and it's really missing. So please, do your best.
Good job. Sorry, you have a question? Chris, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Chris Randy, 36 Fifth Street. Considering the concerns about project expansion, how are you going to accommodate the plans for the generator, the pump house generator on the roof? And
There's no generator on the roof. Chris, there's no generator on the roof. The generator is a standalone away from, next to the center. It doesn't touch the center. Yeah, the generator is off to the side of the center. It doesn't attach to it except by a wire. So we'll be able to work through that. And it won't interfere with the construction and rehab of this.
And is there anything in the plans that can be considered within the regional scope to prepare for making the upstairs more usable?
No, because it wasn't that way. To expand it wouldn't be the way it was before the storm.
You got a photograph, go back to where it was. Right, it's keyed into pre-storm conditions, but if there is any code or standard we can point to that compels us to make that kind of upgrade with the floor loads or things like that, we will exercise
because
any option we can.
That is a goal to make that upstairs a
fully functional,
usable space.
I would just, again, it's the balancing act of, we gotta make sure we don't overexpend, and FEMA signs off on everything, and then anything we add that might tear it apart before we build it back stronger it will ripple through the construction sequence and schedule. But if there's a code or standard we can point to, we'll exhaust every FEMA eligibility and item that we can.
Thank you.
Mr. Peterson, 17 Bay Street. So the 90% is 90%, and it doesn't really matter what the end number is that correct?
That's correct.
So if we lower that 800,000 by volunteers going in beforehand and doing the work and getting stuff either donated or what have you, then that doesn't change the percentage, it just changes how much the end dollar amount.
If we spend, it's based on, you're absolutely right, the answer is yes. If it's 800,000 that we actually spend with receipts and checks to the contractors, you will get $720,000 back. Your 10% would be $80,000. If we reduce the whole cost to $700,000, your 10% would be $70,000. That's the equation.
Right, so if the volunteers went in pre-June and actually got access to it and started the work and got to a point where then we had to call in the other guy to come in and that kind of lowered the dollar amount, we're still getting 90% regardless, is that correct?
That is correct.
Right, our 10 would be lower.
Why do we want to do that? You get it done quicker?
Well, you could also lower it 10%. Your 10% could be lower by 20, 30.
We've got to double check on category A and B, that holds true for emergency type work. There was a discussion last night at the table about how applicable that is to non-emergency work. So for the volunteer time, I think it was pointed out very clearly to us, that particular donated resource was for Cat A and B, which happened immediately after the storm. I'm not so sure that same formula holds true when you're rebuilding the building.
Actually, I think you're incorrect on that, just because there was a story, I believe in the Star Ledger, and I was searching for the name of the town. There was a town in South Jersey on the Delaware side that, very similar to Highlands, lost their town hall, lost their community center from the Delaware in Sandy, and actually volunteers put back together their community center and their town hall and their community center, and they were commended by FEMA for not waiting around and doing stuff to get
I
this
don't
stuff
disagree
done.
that they were commended, but I don't think if it was non-Cat A and Cat B work, I don't think they got reimbursed.
So define Cat A and Cat B.
That was right after the storm when we did the cleanup and the debris removal and all of the emergency preparedness of the storm. That was considered category A and B in FEMA's eyes.
Okay, and your 2 and 3 and now is considered what, Cat C? Cat E?
For a permanent structure, large project is Cat E. Cat E does not reimburse any volunteer labor or means. And when you start to get volunteer labor needs, and then you have to make sure that you have to have FEMA come in, everything has to be by their guidelines. So it does get a little bit sticky with the E project. You have a Cat A or Cat B, that's emergency protection measures. So what you're doing is you're making it safe for the environment at that time. So they do reimburse for volunteer hours, and it's not as much of a process of them watching as much, because it's not the permanent structure. Because you're just getting everything out of harm, you're getting everything out of the way. E is more of the permanent, lifelong structure, so that you can, it's just much different.
It sounds weird, that's the way it is.
Can I just expand on that for a
Reimburse for volunteer hours for Cat A and Cat B.
We're still working on that PW.
So, but how much have we gotten so far?
We haven't gotten any, they don't give you anything on that until closeout. And we're not close to closeout yet. With all the projects that we have out
I
there,
thought there would be supplemental on that. So I thought you could put in for a certain amount and then do supplemental claims very similar to the flood claims, where you could actually put in for volunteer hours and put in a
well,
supplemental.
the PW, it's all predicated upon what our bottom line, our end dollar is, which hasn't been identified yet.
But if they've already closed out Cat A and Cat B, why haven't we submitted it?
The borough hasn't.
We've done the Cat A and Cat B work, and that's been submitted, but it's the total of all our FEMA dollars. And there's gonna be a percentage built into there.
How is it a percentage of, you just said that this is Cat E and no volunteer hours are gonna be reimbursed for this time right now, so why are we waiting for reimbursement for FEMA if none of the volunteer hours are gonna be reimbursed at this specific time moving forward?
But I don't understand your question. Cat A and Cat B are different, okay?
I understand, but
Okay.
that's already closed out. We're at Cat
It's
E
not
now,
fully
correct?
closed out.
We're at Cat E, correct?
Kim, can you explain the closeout process?
Okay, so your FEMA project 3568 is your permanent structure. 3368 is your Cat B project for the community center, right? So that's everything to get everything cleared out, cleaned up, the mold, the garbage, whatever it might be, to get everything out of the building. So that's your big. And FEMA said you experienced a horrible storm, so we're actually advancing you your money. So for something like that, they advance it to you. all your DAP, from taking all your costs, all your contract work, your equipment rental, everything like that. They add it all together, and they give you 90% of that money, minus the advances that you were given by FEMA in the beginning of the storm.
So
At first it was 75%, and then remember they upped the storm to 90%, so then you got to 15% at a later date. So if you receive money, but you have to remember that the borough took an emergency note out. You borrowed money, so that emergency money you get goes towards that emergency note that you got. So at the end of that closeout, which we can't do closeout on a B until you start construction on your E, they will then start reimbursing any difference in the amount. Make sense? It's FEMA. It's not me. It's FEMA. I don't make the rules, I just know.
We're still in the community center. Scott,
So
you
when
ready?
all is said and done, do you foresee us needing another note to cover the difference?
Let's, I don't wanna go off track, guys. Stay in the community center. Scott, no? 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 Carol, on this subject?
No, let's just get on with it.
Beginning.
If they want to volunteer, let them volunteer when they're done.
No one's
Let
stopping
them do it,
anyone
and
from doing
let
it.
these guys come with.
If Fran and his team are gonna leave, does anyone have any other questions on the community center? Okay. Hang on, guys. You guys can argue later, we don't gotta be part of it. Hang on, I can't hear. Hey, name and address, please.
Oh, Kate Reed, 7 South Park Avenue. Are you guys getting a set fee, or is it based on the amount of money we spend? How does that work?
No, our effort is paid for by, we estimate the number of hours. It's basically this team, what we need to do day to day for the life of the project. It's a time and material, so if we don't work on any given week, we don't get paid. We don't get paid a percentage of the construction. Architects sometimes do, construction managers sometimes do. We are in a project director role, like an owner's rep, limited role. So our fees are based on hours per week on an estimated basis for the months that the project will go forward. Some weeks it's more work, and other weeks it's very light duty.
It's not a percentage of the price.
It is definitely not a percentage of construction or any other fee.
Okay, we're gonna get back to the regular meeting. Thank you very much. Let's take 1 minute, let them get up and walk out.
No problem.
9:20. Look at the tape, it has it.
Here we go. Why'd you come to like this?
Yeah, do that. And where did you go? Oh, relatively.
All right. Consent agenda, Karen, anybody have anything at the table they want to take off, question, or add? Take a minute.
I'm good. No, I'm fine with this.
Okay, I'll offer it.
Offer by Mary Ellen, I'll second it. Second by Ms. Kane.
Carolyn, with one exception, I'll abstain to the 18th minutes.
Mr. Ward?
Yes.
Ms. Kane? Yes. Ms. Ryan?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Resolution R 1565, resolution appointing a municipal judge, and we need to offer name and the salary at $13,500.
Yeah, if we're okay, I just want to acknowledge that I know Mr. Card and Mr. Redmond, and I believe Mr. Hill, and were you involved in some of these too, Karen? Interviewing the judges?
Oh, all of them. Oh,
Okay.
I
So,
interviewed all of them.
I know they took a lot of time, we interviewed a lot of people, and we wound up with actually 3 really good candidates that I think would all make a good judge, in my opinion. I'll offer Tom Smith at 13,500.
I'll second it. Offer by Mayor Nolan, second by Ms. Kane. Mr. Card?
No.
Ms. Kane? Yes. Ms. Ryan?
Yes.
Mayor Nolan?
Yes.
You're now going to need a public defender if you want us to put an RFP out for the public defender.
I think that would be wise.
We could do that
Quickly. Does anybody we have to vote on that, Bruce, or?
Yeah, we could have a quick resolution to authorize this.
I'll offer it, if anybody has any discussion, we'll take it now.
I'll second.
I'm fine with putting that out right now. We need to look.
Can I make a suggestion, can we have the same people who will get involved in the individual public defender, or what's the process?
You could if you want. If you want to make that formalized.
You guys wanna do it, I guess, no? Yeah, so we're gonna have the same council members interview public defenders.
Okay, so
If
that
they
was
would like to.
Councilman Card and Councilman Redmond, correct?
Yes,
So then we all came in on it. Okay, fine, thank you.
All
I'll
right,
offer
let me just
that.
finish my roll call. We had, Mr. Carver was a yes, Ms. Kane was a yes, Ms. Ryan?
Yes.
Mayor Nolan?
Yes.
I'll work on transit.
Resolution R 1590, a resolution approving the hazard mitigation plan.
Yeah, we wanted to table that?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I want to.
Mayor Nolan, move to table.
Which one are we up to?
1590.
I'll second that.
90,
Hang on,
where,
hang on,
where,
hang on one
oh,
second.
we can't hear.
What did I speak?
Go ahead, Dale.
This is, by the resolution, this is the one that the county is, moving forward,
This
isn't it?
isn't the one we were supposed to do exactly.
I don't believe so.
Okay,
No,
this
it
is
isn't.
different.
This is the
So we don't
county,
table.
just so we're clear, this is the county plan that is, in effect,
Right,
and they need a resolution.
Right,
yes, this is it.
This isn't the HMGP that we're gonna discuss in the exec.
Okay.
Right, this
But
is
it's not-
part of the county plan.
Right,
That's
so
already been done.
we need to go back and do this.
Right, it's not what we thought.
Right.
Right.
Time out, I need clarification,
Yeah.
so this is for the OEM plan, that's being,
This
the
is-
hazard mitigation
This is
plan?
the county hazard mitigation plan that's been in the process for about a year.
Okay.
And
Yeah, I would like to
this
table.
is, okay.
Does
I would
it,
like to table.
okay, does it, there's no, we don't have to vote on it tonight, correct? There's no time limits, there's no,
I'm not sure about that.
I know the county is looking to adopt their plan.
they can wait 2 weeks, I'll second it.
Yeah, that's,
Okay.
Because I have to, because I've been requesting information, books now available, I know in
They can
town
wait 2
libraries.
weeks.
Yeah.
As long as they can't wait 2
Okay.
weeks.
Wait.
Okay.
I'll second the table, so the second,
Offered by
2
Mayor
weeks,
Nolan,
go,
call
go,
into table for 2 weeks, second by Mr. Carr. Ms. Carr? Sorry, Mr. Carr?
Yes.
Ms. Kane? Yes. This is the table.
Yes,
Ms. Ryan?
Yes.
Mayor Nolan?
yes. And 2 yeses in there, sorry.
Okay.
Now we're tabling our.
Ms. Ryan, you've asked to table
Yes, I
1591.
have asked to table this for
Is 2 weeks okay?
2 weeks is fine,
You
thank
want to
you.
offer that?
Yes, I would like to offer to,
Second by Mayor Nolan. Mr. Carr?
Yes.
Ms. Kane? Yes. Ms. Ryan?
yes,
Mayor Nolan?
Yes, please.
thank you.
Resolution R 1594, resolution accepting letter of resignation.
It says resignation, right? And which letter is this?
This was, I believe, with regards to the building department secretary.
Okay,
It's in your folder.
1594 is the building secretary resigned.
Yes.
Obviously, she's leaving on tomorrow, right? I'll offer it.
Offered by Mayor Nolan, second. Second by Ms. Kane. Mr. Carr?
Yes.
Ms. Kane? Yes. Ms. Ryan?
Yes.
Mayor Nolan?
Yes, and thank you for her service and due diligence for the town.
On for introduction, setting up a public hearing date of March 20th is amended ordinance 0-15-7, an ordinance accepting a deed of site triangle easement and stormwater easement for block 101, lot 27.02 from Pulte Homes of New Jersey.
This will be for 320?
It says
320, right?
320?
No, what did you say?
No,
Did you say
April.
April 20th?
March, I'm sorry, May
No, we're in April.
May 20th. You said May, right?
Okay. All right, so it's May 20th?
Yeah, that would be the date of the public hearing. 520, correct?
Yes.
I'll offer that.
Offered by Mayor Nolan,
I'll second it.
second by Ms. Ryan. Mr. Carr?
Yes.
Ms. Kane? Yes. Ms. Ryan?
Yes.
Mayor Nolan?
Yes.
On for introduction, setting of a public hearing date for May 20th is amended ordinance 0-15-8, an ordinance accepting various deeds and easements from Sandwich Developers LLC from block 101, lot 27.03.
Same deal, public hearing on 520, I'll offer it.
Offered by Mayor Nolan, second. Second by Ms. Kane. Mr. Carr?
Yes.
Ms. Kane? Yes. Ms. Ryan?
Yes.
Mayor Nolan?
Yes.
On
Is
for
it
introduction, setting.
1515, the chicken ordinance?
Yeah.
This is just something that was left out during an old codification.
Okay.
Yeah, the health department
I just,
requested
John
it.
McDonald, wanted it back in.
I said to myself reading this on Friday, this will be the one we have a lot of the most questions.
Well, I
didn't
know it. I had, you know what, I didn't know where it came from, I got calls today at work, I'm talking about chickens, goats, this and that, and people must like,
I'm
where do you live?
But
I'm like,
It's ironic, it's really weird, ironic, people have called me up saying, what do we do about
The chickens?
the chickens?
People, it's becoming popular, people want chickens.
So can we address that within this? Maybe
That's
use
what one of the papers, I was ready.
Well, this, my understanding of what happened was, you
you had this in your code at one point.
Right.
It was recodified whenever that was done. It was inadvertently omitted. There was actually a case that went before Locasio.
I remember.
He almost
Sure.
had to dismiss it because it wasn't in the code, but we found a way
And it was goats.
to convict the
Yes.
person. And that case dealt with goats.
Yes, it's closed.
So this is just.
So who asked?
Putting something back?
Mount County Regional.
Oh, okay.
That's because because it was brought to my attention by several homeowners, and they said, bring it to the council, and that's what I thought that was about.
About
But
having
there's been an
chickens?
expressed interest of being able to have a limited number of chickens for fresh eggs. And they said, put it in writing. So I would say, let's put it on there and let
Put it
them,
on the 20th and let them vet it out.
let them vet it out. and bring it.
Well, do we wanna get some recommendations on the chickens
Well,
first?
I mean,
Well, I said-
I don't know, I mean, do I have a
I
problem?
advanced them to do that.
Put it in, you can always take it
Right,
out.
okay, okay.
Well, you can always have the public hearing and not.
Well, then you gotta have.
Nancy, may I point at you, Nancy?
Nancy, what's your take on the chickens? What was it?
I wanted chickens my whole life.
And I guess them.
Will this stop you from getting your chickens?
Well, Rob's stopping her from getting the chickens.
Well,
You won't break the law.
Well, no, in seriousness, fresh eggs and having chickens is becoming more popular.
I agree.
And there is a group of residents who are thinking of coming to the council to see if we could rework this ordinance a little bit. We're not looking for
Okay.
goats or donkeys,
We did get a lot of calls about it, so obviously there's issues, so let's table it for now.
Yeah, that's right. And yes, can we table it now and have you kind of like leave?
You wanna leave the chicken charge?
Chicken charge, yeah.
I'm not sure, Rob.
Call it a call.
Rob, what's the deal? You gonna leave the chicken charge or?
Chicken charge.
I'm gonna offer to table this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have enough time to do this by May 20th? Sure.
For first reading of an
No, it's adoption.
No, that's adoption.
Oh, no, it's public hearing.
Yeah, you're right, public hearing.
Sure, we'd love to come and talk in a public hearing for.
So can you get this all together by 5:20?
Sure, that would be lovely.
Put it
It
on
doesn't
Friday.
hold up the community center.
And there will be no chickens out of the community.
Yes.
Yes.
So on for introduction, setting up a public hearing date for May 20th is ordinance 0-15-16, an ordinance amending section 7-3.4 of the revised general ordinances of the Borough of Highlands regulating parking on foot and road.
Set for May 20th, correct? I'll offer it.
Offered by Mayor Knopf.
I'll second it.
Second by Ms. Ryan. Mr. Carr?
Yes.
Ms. King?
Yes.
Ms. Ryan?
Yes.
Mayor Knopf.
Yes.
On for second reading, public hearing is ordinance 0-15-12, refunding bond ordinance authorizing the issuance of not to exceed $2,600,000 aggregate principal amount of general obligation refunding bonds by the Borough of Highlands and the County of Monmouth, State of New Jersey, Monmouth County Improvement Authority for the purpose of refunding certain bonds heretofore issued by Borough to the MCIA. This was published in the March 21st edition of the Asbury Park Press, and I now be open for public.
Any questions on 15-12? Seeing none, we'll close public hearing.
On for final reading and adoption is ordinance 0-15-12. Ordinance refunding bond ordinance authorizing the issuance of not to exceed $2,600,000 aggregate principal amount of the general obligation refunding bonds by the Borough of Highlands in the County of Monmouth, State of New Jersey, to the Monmouth County Improvement Authority for the purpose of refunding certain bonds heretofore issued by the Borough to the MCIA.
Anybody want to offer 15-12?
I'll offer it.
Offered by Ms. Gaines.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Card. Mr. Card?
Yes.
Ms. Gaines?
Yes.
Ms. Ryan?
Yes.
Mayor Knopf?
Yes.
On for second reading, public hearing at this time is ordinance 0-15-13. Calendar year 2015 ordinance to exceed municipal budget appropriation limits and to establish capping. This was published in the March 21st edition of the Asbury Park Press, and we have this.
Do you have any questions on 15-13?
Yes, I don't understand why we need to increase the cap to 3.5%. What's wrong with what's been going on? I mean, why can't we just stay with the cap that we've had? I'm afraid that it's just going to be spent, not actually serve the purpose.
I agree, so if you put the money there, you think you might spend it, correct?
And I would rather focus on reserves. I mean, if there was an ordinance saying it cannot be touched, and it will only be for reserves for future capital, long-term expenditures or long-term, I understand
Barbara, I
that,
tend
but
to
to
agree
just
with you.
keep giving more money for someone to say, oh, we're not at zero
If you
yet.
give them an opportunity, they're gonna do it.
Yeah,
I would tend to agree with you, and I thought, and I guess foolish on me to not confirm this, that Mr. de Blasio was gonna be here tonight, so
Okay.
I will be voting no on this without some questions that I had that are unanswered.
okay, so we would be able to ask more questions at the hearing then? Okay.
Do you have any?
I know Pat had brought this up at the last meeting, explaining the
Which
rationale.
unfortunately, I was sick and I didn't attend, so I have questions that we get answered tonight.
Okay.
We can't take and we take.
Well, you gotta have the public hearing, because you're advertising. So
We
we're
can
having.
have a
the
public
public
hearing,
hearing,
we're happy to,
table
we can
on
wait
the
on the
I
vote.
mean, that's what I'm gonna vote for.
We tabled the noise ordinance.
Can we wait on the vote?
No, we just have to have the public hearing right now.
Yeah,
And now we can have another, we just do just like we did now with the community center, have an open on that, and,
I think that's great.
Then I'd also like to go on record as saying that I don't believe that we should raise the cap.
by the way, I'm with you, that's why I'm tabling it.
I just said, I just wanted to be on the
Now, if he
record
comes to the
agreeing with that.
table and says there's something to do with grants and da-da-da, and that might be something we can change our mind for, right?
Okay, fine, that's
Hey,
great.
Barbara, you're done, we're not gonna include it, we're not voting on it tonight
Yes.
anyway, but,
Good, thank you.
does anybody have any other questions on?
Well, as long as you're not voting on it, but Carol, I'll go through 30 Shore Drive. Sometimes they throw stuff in there just in case.
And I get that, but is it just in case by $100
But if
grand or
you
$1
don't
million?
need it, then let's.
And I'm with you, but we need to have that answer, I think, before we vote.
Okay.
I know I am.
No, that's fine, I'm with you.
Okay, I'm gonna close public portion. I'd like to make a motion to table this to the next meeting.
We're just tabling the vote, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, but I'm also gonna give everybody a chance to ask questions.
Everybody else wants to.
You don't have to advertise public hearing, but we're going on record saying we're gonna have people ask questions.
I'll second that.
So we're gonna go on.
Table.
Either way, that's what we wanna do, we're gonna do. You have to advertise to be right, advertise to be right.
All right, we're tabling this to the next meeting?
You have time to advertise if you have to? Okay, just put it on the website or something. We're doing-
Motion to carry the vote. By Mayor Nolan.
Second.
Second by Mr. Carr. Mr. Carr?
Yes.
Ms. Kane? Yes. Ms. Ryan?
Yes.
Mayor Nolan.
Yes.
On to final reading, it's
15-14 is asked to be tabled, correct?
15-14, yes, I need more time, I have to serve those to, all properties.
But we still have to do the public hearing time, correct?
No, because I
You
did
could,
not.
you could table it, you could do the public hearings, but, or you could table it and then,
There's nobody here from the bid that I know to speak on.
right, so that's why I would table it and
We're not voting on it.
renotice it.
Okay, I'll offer the table to the 6th.
I'll second that.
Mr. Carr?
Yes.
Ms. Kane? Yes. Ms. Ryan?
Yes.
Mayor Nolan.
Yes.
Put it in the bill. Next.
Finance.
Committee reports, finance, Mr. Blasio is not present this evening.
Not here, but I will say that we had another meeting with our subcommittee on the budget, and we are going to have some type of town hall meeting this month, and that will be announced for securing the facility.
I think right now, Mayor, we're looking at the 20th, if that's confirmed.
I didn't see confirmation yet.
Right.
If it does get.
April 20th. We're waiting on confirmation of use of the facility.
Public safety, Mr. Redmond is not here. Joe, did you have anything to speak to?
I
know we got your report, just.
No, I've seen our report, as usual. If anybody has any questions, they can contact me.
Thank you, sir. Administration, Mr. Hill.
Mayor, I'll just touch on a couple items and my report will be available. I have been asked by the sanitation company to remind residents once again, I know we've talked about construction debris being mixed in with household garbage. I know it's an issue and it's ongoing, but there's a lot of times that garbage cannot be picked up with construction debris and recyclables. So they're asking us to check that out. DPW did complete rounds and we did have 10 NJIT volunteers who helped clean up the streets a little bit in preparation of some of the events a couple weeks ago. So we're glad that they were in. Construction office is busy, and we've talked about that, and we do have the resignation of the secretary, which we are working to fill. In terms of fire department, had 16 calls, and members were trained. I do like to report that Chief Wells is certified as a CPR instructor, so he'll also be doing CPR certification for our staff and others that may need it.
That'd be,
Sorry?
I'm curious, a CPR, would that be available to the public?
We can set it up, and I'm sure if he has the abilities to do so for the public, yeah. I think it's, as long as he can, as long as the fee is paid and he can produce the card, that's the key.
Right.
Because we've had that in the past, and it didn't work out that way.
He finished
So,
it.
okay. Other than that, just touching on a couple things, I know the Easter egg hunt was held this weekend. I think Jen reported we had over 120 participants. The application was submitted for the summer food service program, which we're hoping to get again this year. I know another business, we're going to touch base on the Rain Barrel Grant, but we have 15 responses as of today. Just from the administration end, I want to mention that the RFPs for clam preparation plant were accepted and reviewed. We are going to move forward, but there's a potential of a conflict that we have to iron out. The Atlantic Highlands Henry Hudson Regional School Tri-District Task Force, which is pretty long, has been meeting. They are talking about potential regional consolidation, and there is a task force that has been put in place to do so. Representatives from the State Department of Education and the Monmouth County Superintendent did speak to the group, I think 2 times within the last couple of weeks we've been meeting, and there's going to be an analysis done of information, and there is going to be a timeline put into place. One of the things that is noted that any actions leading down whatever path that it may go will require a referendum vote. So they're going to try to fast track the process, do it right, but get it ready and hopefully out to the public for a full vote depending upon what the analysis shows. So I think everyone's working on that as maybe a tri-district or a single district, but the analysis will come in and they'll let us know what the financial impacts will be and what the benefits are. Other than that, the essential service grant that we are working hard on applying for, I think we're going to be applying for about $2 million. That grant has been extended, deadline to April 7th. We're prepared, I think, to file it tomorrow anyway, and we'll hope to hear sometime in June that we receive that money. Lastly, Mayor, the Monmouth County Park System did transport the infamous World War II naval gun from the battleship New Jersey. That did arrive. It did not fall anywhere. It made it to its location. And in talking with the park system people, permanent display will be designed, but it's probably about a year out by the time they go to design an actual bid and construct it and put it in place. On that, that's my short report for tonight.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Ryan, go to bed.
Well, Tim just talked about the tri-district, and that's very exciting. The other thing I wanted to let you know that the Highlands Elementary School is having the budget talk, okay? And the president of the Board of Ed is here, Mary Kay Moore, she's gonna tell me the date.
She's not putting
Okay,
it on
she's gonna get that. Okay, we're gonna have that, and it's in the month of April.
May 2nd?
Okay, thank you, May 2nd. It'll be here. I urge everybody to show up. They give a really good, informative, and non-boring report. And the biggest percentage of your taxes go to the school. So everybody, what time? It's 7 o'clock.
7?
6 o'clock.
6
Really
o'clock.
early. I'm really hitting everything today. I'll get all the pertinent information and get it. Thank you.
That's a Saturday.
I'm sorry, anyway, it said, wow, it said the wrong date.
May 4th?
Monday, May 4th, don't have been reading.
Monday the 4th, 6 o'clock.
Yes, sorry.
Thank you.
5, 4,
First
6
Monday,
p.m.
6 p.m.
Perfect.
Okay, thank you. That's it.
Highlands Business Partnership, Ms. Kane, give us a call.
Okay, and I'll just give they provided a written report.
It's also available in public practice.
Yeah, it's available in your public packets, but I'll just touch on a couple of things. The second annual Guinness Run was a good success, a great success. They had 42 runners, proceeds were about $1,000. The 13th annual St. Patrick's Day Parade was also a great success. The HPP would like to thank Joe Burt for gathering volunteers, Karen Taylor, Doug Card, Chris Francie, Dana Shields, and anybody else who was out shoveling the main walkways there. It's very appreciated. And they said, once again, Highlands pulls together. The parade is a huge success. The Highlands 2015 Visitor Guide has been updated and distributed by county, Sandy Hook, Twin Lights, and locally. We continue to expand our online presence and social media campaigns. Under visual improvement, worked in partnership with the borough's Clean Communities program to spruce up parks and public areas for spring cleanup projects. We're currently working with the Garden Club to put together a plan for the responsibility of watering planters and possible relocating due to streetscape project. Regarding the project on Miller Hill for the wall, we received one partial application from Mr. Jim Kovic, and then it just says we are, so I don't know what they are going to do after we are.
Maybe they don't know.
Because that's all there is in that sentence.
You're out of loss of words now.
I can only read what's
On the application though, the date is closed. I actually saw it posted on a different site today, and somebody's like, oh, I wish I would have known about that earlier.
You could probably always
Because
send
they
it in
said
if we-
that,
yeah.
on the application, it says the deadline is March 20th, so
If you
that
wanna
might be,
If you want to email it to me, I can send it forward to the HBP. And
oh, I'm not applying for it.
No,
I'm
no,
just
but I mean,
saying
if you know somebody, tell them, encourage
Yeah.
them to email it over.
that may be what's discouraging people on that, is they think that it's closed.
And it may be if we only have one partial, you know.
Well, maybe we are considering.
Maybe we are, I don't know what Carla, we are.
We are still accepting.
That's why I'm
Carol,
saying.
fill in
just-
the blank.
Yeah, you're right. Fill in the blank, I'm saying just email it to me. Under economic development, they say they're awaiting material list from Tri-Guard to fill the needs to begin with the Veterans Park Boardwalk project. Also awaiting hardware list for the project as soon as material list is received and have it delivered within 5 business days, and they'd like to get the project moving.
And that's what I tried that.
I guess, I believe Barry's here, right? Barry and.
Barry and I have been in communication.
So you guys
With
are-
Joe, we haven't stepped, we're just waiting for the weather to actually be warm.
Just started today, basically.
Yeah, so we're gonna be hitting that hard in the next couple of weeks.
Okay. And under the Robin Hood grant, as of today, 23 projects have been completed, 2 homes are in progress, 1 waiting for concrete when the weather permits, and a second has begun and will be completed by the end of April. At that point, a final report will be submitted to Robin Hood as required. And there's one thing not written on their report, just that I'm going to say as the liaison, I did have a couple of questions in between chicken calls today regarding a grease trap letter. So I am going to work with the business partnership with Carla and the affected owners to see what we can do, how we can mitigate something, or really honestly, even for me, get a better understanding, because I just got the letter today. So yeah, so once I get a time to digest it, understand it, talk with Carla, talk with the affected business owners, then we'll come back to the table and have a discussion.
I know you got a couple things going on the other one, so we're. Shared services, we had a meeting scheduled with another town in March for a shared service and a facility possible sharing. They canceled it and we rescheduled it for this April 17th. So hopefully we'll have something to talk about very soon about a possible shared service and or facility with a neighboring town. So there's a group of us from the council here meeting with a group of their council people on the 17th. Website RFP is not ours to talk about it. Other business, New Jersey American Water Grant, rain barrels, Mr. Hood, you talking about it?
I just want to thank everyone for their patience and understanding. They did come down the other day, New Jersey American did present us with the check. Just don't be misled, it says 10,000, they actually made out the check for 9,000 because they gave you 90% up front and 10% later. So we're very happy that New Jersey American did stick with us on that, and we're going to continue to move that project forward.
Okay, on this, I really want to thank Stacy, who persevered and pushed this forward and did a lot of research on it and got it out there. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're doing it.
Would you 1422?
Next month.
Want that on the May
May
6th?
workshop.
May 6th, I believe it is, right, Carol?
I believe so,
Okay, as Ms. Ryan's request, we'll move that to May 6th.
Thank you.
Want to give me a question, other question? Will you go around this question? Yeah. Carol, can you get this presentation in maps online from Frank? Sorry, what did-
If I get it, grab it.
Yeah. Carol Buckle.
Yes. Usually when I sign in first, you cover everything, but unfortunately you haven't.
It's okay.
Carol Bucko, 334 Drive. I'm very, very concerned with the construction over at Garson Eds.
Okay.
And also the bowling project.
Okay.
They are raising the ground so high that our condo is going to become a bathtub, like the town. They have raised the ground, I think 6 feet or more.
I think it was 8. I think it was an average of 8.
Well, whatever it
From
is.
the planning board resolution.
But the fact is, I thought that if they had to have hearings on this, we would have been notified. But I don't
For
think we
Darcy
were.
and for Balling's property.
Either one. I mean, it was all encompassing at one time.
No, I think we're encompassing. The zoning was written so that if the same continuous owner owned it, the zoning would go with it if it was property to property.
Right, well, that's what I mean, but we didn't get any notification that that was happening. But
I don't know that that's owned by the same person, especially
Not
from the
now.
planning board here.
But even
What?
prior.
Never
It
was.
was.
Never was.
Wasn't all
No,
my
Baldwin
fault?
did not own.
I don't even know if he still owns it today, to be honest with you.
James Phillip owns it.
Oh, he
Never
still
owned
owns it?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
There was many rumors that they were
Well,
going
anyway,
together, selling
we're
it.
very concerned about the runoff.
Okay.
And if it's
You gotta
going to be
take a look at it and see what you think. I know it went through 2 sets of engineering.
I mean, we have a little bit of runoff, and we have to put in French drains all the way down to the river. So, you know, what are they gonna do for us?
They're
I mean, wait till Surges gets hold of it.
Oh. Those plans have been vetted out and vetted out, and I know they went through a stringent process through the planning board. Father Construction, obviously had to mitigate their water. We are having challenges with them right now, with their early construction phases that we are ironing out with the borough attorney's office. But I'll come down, if you want me to come down and take a look to see where your
You wanna
concerns are.
see the mountains of dirt they're putting in there.
I was back there the other day, and I don't disagree.
I mean, he built a real nice wall, but now he has filled the dirt up to the top of the wall.
Right.
We have, Carol, you have to understand something, that what they're putting dirt in, they call leads, and then they're gonna compact it, so they build it up higher and then compact it
And
down.
when it rains and it runs off.
Okay, now, the finished product, during the process, he's gonna have runoff problems because he doesn't have the pipes. He's putting in, stormwater management pipes greater than it was ever there. That's gonna manage it when it's done. But yes, the difficulty to get there is going to be a problem, and, like Dale said, he's been brought to his attention, and he's trying to do the best he possibly can. He's gonna, I don't know how good he's gonna do, but he's gonna try to do the best. But the end product will
If
be
they're
a
gonna
better
put
drainage
the
system.
homes on the Darson Ed's property,
No,
That's
no one
not
has
part of
anything in the
it.
plan.
Nothing's going there right now.
Nothing's going there right
There's
now.
nothing been approved of anything with Carson in it.
No plans on that?
I should know something.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't
well,
even
there
say.
are mountains and mountains of dirt there.
They use it as a stationary.
I think some of
mean,
that is
they crushed
the crushed
tons of
stone from
rocks.
the building, from the house, that was the endorsement that's
They
building.
brought in rocks.
I'm sure.
They brought in rocks. Big rocks. And they crushed them, they've been crushing it for 2 days.
That Carolyn was not even an application for Darcy's property, right? No.
Just a demo.
Oh, that's amazing. Okay, well, hopefully we'll be notified when you have the hearing and stuff. I just want to, I called Carolyn this week to remind Bruce that he's supposed to work on a Title 39 for us, since I signed one about 20 or 30 years ago, and it's been ineffective, lost in the flood.
Good
So,
We'll talk about that later.
So,
I think there's gonna be interpretation issues with that. We'll talk about that.
well,
Oh, we get this thing done?
but we did it, you know, we did do it. I did put in an application for the funds that are owed to us.
Okay.
I signed that voucher today,
Oh, good.
for the electric bill, correct?
No, the electric bill is
Oh.
an everyday thing. This is
Something
the
else?
retroactive stuff from the contract.
I didn't sign that one today.
No, I better get signed.
Tim got that for you.
And I just want to comment on the chickens. Chickens are very dirty animals. They are extremely dirty
That on
animals,
the record.
and they peck you.
I'm not a
You
fan
know?
of that.
So, I mean, you might want your fresh eggs, but you're gonna have to suffer, and so is the whole town, because the shit
I don't think
is
they'll be
all-
running wild on Bay Ave, there's not a provision of it.
Yeah, but wherever it is, the putting it in the water supply, we don't know.
I'm
It's
sure
bad
there's a
stuff.
reason that the health official made sure.
I don't
Oh,
think
I see.
Nancy ever lived on a farm.
Listen
She
to
would
both
not
sides.
know that.
Carol, I got a zoning application for a chicken coop at Dorset's.
Yes, you will be notified when that comes before the board.
I just have one additional comment about your judge appointment, Tom Smith. Years ago, Tom Smith begged to be kept on as a public defender so he could up his retirement. Now we're gonna make him the judge. He only wanted a few dollars from us, and now you're making him the judge.
Years ago, he begged to you?
Huh?
He begged to who?
He begged to the council,
I think that's,
you know, to
Hearsay
be kept
and-
on so that his, PRC, is that it? Public employees? Yeah, that's it.
PRS.
And, you know, just so he could keep his amount building for his retirement. And now you're making him the judge, I think he should probably be retired already.
I think
that's
you're
his
talking
choice,
about
right?
the father.
You're talking about the father.
You're talking about the father.
Yeah.
I didn't ask his age, but I'd have to say that's about accurate.
Oh, well, okay. That's all.
Okay. Melissa, are you speaking to the petition? You're listed after it, that's why.
Yeah.
Mind your name and address, if you don't mind?
Melissa Peterson, 17 Bay Street. I also, as a side note, wanted to ask if we, for the rain barrel surveys, instead of having something that people have to download, circle, scan, and try to email back or drop off, is it possible we could do a survey monkey or something?
Wait, could I just jump in? Because I had 4 seconds. Carolyn Brion,
You're
12
next
Miller
anyway.
Street.
so-
I already did it.
Yes.
I was going to do it, but I was looking at it and I said, this is really silly. So I did a Survey Monkey.
So it sounds like you're
And
getting
I
problem.
was just wanted to ask Tim, Carolyn, if I could just email you the link.
Well, what I can say
And
is
then I can
this, in
download the
difference
data and
to
give it
your
to you.
question, let me answer a question first.
Sure.
Some people have cut and pasted whatever, and they've given it to us in that format. So I don't know how they've done it, but I haven't gotten actually the form, but they've cut and pasted the document, sent us the pertinent information. So I'm not saying Survey Monkey, I don't want to say what's what, but people have.
I wasn't sure if you, you couldn't cut and paste within the email. I wasn't sure if that would be accepted.
Yeah, no, as long as it has the information, the form is the form, it gives us, as long as it has the information we're looking for, again, we've gotten them in that way and we're tabulating. So if you have Survey Monkey set up, I don't want to comment, but however people get the information to us is what we're looking for.
I set it up already. I would give it to you so you can put the link on the website.
Yes, I think we should do that.
And then, once the data is collected at the end of the data
No reason
collection
not to.
period, I can download the data file and give it to
You
you
gotta
to
put
sell,
it on the
and you'd have all of your answers.
Would it have the date and the time it came in?
It would be a temp stamp.
Well, part of this, just so you understand, part of the survey is to gain the interest, and if we get the rain barrels in and you're interested, we're going to be following up with you. So I understand what you're saying maybe from is Survey Monkey just correlating the data?
No, it asks the question. That's why I wish I brought my.
It's just a
tablet.
better,
I'm assuming
it's
it's
an
electronic.
easier
It's
and
electronic,
better
it's
way.
electronic survey.
But it's
That-
giving me
It's
their
the
name,
exact
it's
same
still
question,
giving me
it's
their name,
replicated, name,
it's giving me their
address,
name and all that stuff
And
too?
email,
I'd say
I didn't make
yes.
email a required field, because some people don't
I'd
want to
say
give it.
yes.
Okay.
But every other thing is required field.
Okay, I have no problem, as long as we're getting the data, because if I want to follow up with you, but is it time stamping it? That's one of the
Is
questions.
each survey time stamp, is that what you're?
Yeah.
You would think
I
when
mean,
we send it, it would
yes.
have to be.
I would think so. We just need to make sure.
I mean, if it's not, I'll have my company do it, or my programmers could do it in like 4 seconds, and everything would be.
So yeah, if you could send it, we would definitely utilize it.
So you send it to us, we'll get the link
Thank
up.
you, Carol.
You're welcome.
Unless you actually still have the floor, so.
I'm sorry,
I'm
Melissa.
sorry.
It's okay.
That's good, we can use it.
Yeah, we're gonna use it.
But if you want to cut and paste, you can do that too.
Okay.
I'm not going to restrict how people send it to us.
And I'm fine, because I was just gonna reiterate what the petition.
Yeah, that has consideration. I was waiting for them to call concerning.
Yeah, I'll go around. I got your name on here too.
Yeah, I have
That's
another
all,
question.
that's all I was gonna
Okay.
say.
Chris Francie, I think he left, right?
Yeah.
Barbara, you're up.
Okay, well, first I want to not speak as an individual. I would like to speak on behalf of concerned citizens of Highlands, committed to the recovery of our community. We are residents and taxpayers who live, work, and play here in Highlands. And as such, we're claiming our seat right there beside you up on the dais so that our voices and interests are heard. We recognize the fact that there remain many projects on our town's priority list which have yet to be implemented. We also recognize the underlying obstacles within our governing body that contributes to that fact, which is why we respectfully submit this petition to the Highlands Council and Borough Administrator. I'm going to read the petition for the record. We, the people of Highlands, have gathered together to volunteer our labor and time to the rebuilding of our community center. We request the support of our governing body to help us in implementing this project. Our goal is to have an open community center for the summer of 2015. We understand there are current resources and available funding post-Sandy that can be applied towards this effort, and we respectfully request that the council approves the allocation of such funding once the required materials and action plans have been reviewed and submitted. Below are the signatures of Highlands residents that support this effort, as well as a commitment to volunteering our time, labor, expertise, and qualified input to help the council in any way necessary to complete this project. I used change.org as a format for an online petition, and we received 115 signatures, which I have a spreadsheet downloaded here. 38 people took the time to add comments as to why they felt it was important to sign. I have a copy of those for the committee to review about the community center. And we also have 51 or 52 signatures that were hand-signed on petitions that were throughout the town. So there is a total of 167 residents that took the time to say, we want to be involved, we want to help, we're not being contentious, we just want it done. And it's our community, we're here. So I want you to keep us updated, let us know how we can help. I think our first project will be the bathrooms, and then we will not have to pay $150,000 for restrooms that are very comfortable and clean.
We'll just do it after the scope of this FEMA project.
Yes. So, and I know, I thank you for listening to us and doing what you had to do to get this done over the weekend. And
Oh, it was longer than that.
2.5 years.
Well, I mean, for this final, for them to commit with this T&M committee and everything. So that says a lot, and the petition still holds. We're still gonna be involved, and we're gonna just want a status update, and we're gonna jump in.
We appreciate it, and I'll speak just for myself, I won't speak for the whole council. We embrace it and want it. We're just as frustrated and motivated to get it done. Being a family member here and having, children here and everything else, I'm with you 100%. It sounds like now we have the right team in place from our side and can get this going. We have actually projects before the community center that Tim and I talked about today to bring volunteers in before we have to worry about doing that mitigation or whatever we're going to do there.
There's so much.
So we would ask, Ms. Ryan has volunteered to be the lead, and she asked if you would obviously help her directly. And I'll make another statement. I think they'll have 1,000 people who maybe didn't have time to sign between now, between the time we started and tonight, who'll be there to help you, just like after the storm.
Yes.
I would like to add to that. I would ask this council to utilize my assets. I come from a construction background, going through massive amount of change in construction. I'm the one probably person on here more qualified to discuss construction, building, and all aspects associated with it. I did not know about any of this until today. I'm upset about that, but let's move forward in the right direction. I'm asking this council, let's utilize my resources, my knowledge, my expertise, so that these volunteers are maximized.
You want to co-chair with Ms.
I was
Ryan?
just going to say, Doug, those are not my strong suits at all. Mine was just to be coordinating volunteers,
Especially building related.
Right. So, let's work on it together, okay?
Now, there's a lot of qualified skill sets in our town.
Great.
And we're gonna tap into all of them. And now I do want to speak as Barbara Ianucci, 28 Shrewsbury Avenue. I have one question with the judge. Tom Smith was our acting defender,
Public defender.
public defender. For how many years? Like 9 or 10?
I think he was connected to the borough for 19 off and on.
Okay. To stand up as a judge and to hear cases of prior clients is a very sensitive, touchy area. What cost is that going to be to the town if he has to recuse himself rather often in the next 2 years until that dies out, so to speak?
Bruce, what's your opinion? You told us
I
basically.
feel like it's a
I'm not
conflict.
aware that there is any cost because all towns cover for each other. There's always a recusal judge.
The judge pays or the town pays?
Carol, I don't
Well,
think.
I don't know.
It hasn't.
Caroline, have you ever paid?
Well, what made
Because
you-
cases get sent to other towns all the time. Have you ever paid?
What made you
No,
pick a
we're talking
judge
about
that's going to have half his clients before him? I mean,
I personally picked him because I thought he was the best guy for the job.
and,
Out of the three of you, they're all good. I just thought he was the best. I'm a big believer of taking people through the ranks too and promoting from within.
okay, because you're leaving yourself open for other judge or other defenders that come in for their clients that are paid that will automatically say that it was a biased opinion. And I mean, and
Is it part of the equation? Absolutely. The question we had talked about during executive session was how much of the percentage is that?
Yeah.
So we did talk about that in good detail between us.
If you find out in a year it occurs a little bit more than on average for any other town, can you readdress the judge?
Yeah, we
His
talked about
appointment
that
is
also.
for until the end of this year.
Okay.
Yeah, it's basically a 8-month, if you will, 9-month appointment.
Okay.
We did talk about that also, the ability to switch out in a year, less than a year.
All right. Because I was concerned about that. Thank you.
No problem. Kim Scarpa?
Kim Scorpio, 315 F Shore Drive. I appreciate very much T&M coming in. And correct me if I misunderstood, but they're billing by the hour for this community center project. And I appreciate Fran and Paper's expertise, but I hope we don't have to pay for all his subordinates to sit here. They may have answered questions for you during executive, and that's great, but I hope we didn't pay his subordinates
No.
to sit here for an hour.
Let me answer that. No, absolutely not.
Okay.
Basically, the reason they were here, and I'll be open about it, the reason they were here was because this council didn't believe that I had people behind me doing work. They figured I was just running 24/7
So
and I
what
was
did
going to
you
do
pay them
everything.
to be here?
So they actually came to show support, to say, listen, there are other people that actually do this. And they were the ones that have worked in Bay Shore. So I haven't done much of the FEMA work myself. I've been tied up, obviously, doing many other things. So no, you're not paying for them to be here tonight. The only time you would pay for any of us would be if we actually provide a benefit for them being here. Obviously, none of them except for Fran said a word tonight. So there was no benefit to them being here. You didn't get any benefit out of it except for meeting them tonight.
Okay.
So no, that doesn't weigh into that. As far as billing by the hour, what happens is we negotiate a contract with the town, for a cost not to exceed, and then based on our billing rates on our contract, it gets drawn down. So it's not like an open checkbook for hourly. We're all here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and it's all worked out ahead of time.
Okay.
I'll be asking for itemized billing on that.
As will FEMA.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I'll be
absolutely.
asking, because it's, again, T&M is who they are, but I think it's, we have to be careful there. And that if they're pit bulls like they are, it's not gonna be an issue.
Agreed.
And they've
Should be
already
less
proven
time.
that already.
Should be less time to think about it.
Quite frankly, we've gotten more out of T&M in the 2 weeks they've been on board with this project. And then 2 weeks ago, we voted unanimously to bring them on to help with FEMA. And the next meeting, we have that. And I think that's a huge testament to the team, which we felt was important. Everybody meet the team and see the team and understand that there is a team. And then also to, put something forward that could, be held to. I think that's very important. So I think that was a huge.
And I have a question on R1592. That's the mosquito spraying that you approved in consent agenda with no comments. Do you realize this is going to be aerial? And do you know what chemicals they're using, and have you read up on them at all?
Well,
We have no say in it, it's a county thing. We have to.
Do they tell anybody when they're spraying? I don't want to be out on the beach.
Notify the police department.
Yeah,
Okay.
and chief, unfortunately, I was gonna bring, because I figured someone was gonna ask that question, and I think we have a responsibility to reverse 911, to make sure the public's fully aware with the kids and children that are out there, that they be notified. Now,
I
would
don't
even
remember
go one
ever
step
seeing
fur-
this in consent agenda before.
Yeah, every year.
It's something the county does, and it's
We have to approve it.
CDC, we have to do it. But the important thing is, we have an obligation. I'm not as even opposed to having someone with a bullhorn, whether in the vehicle, say, hey, they're spraying today. If you got chickens or cats or dogs or whatever, keep them safe.
chickens out.
Because we only fly planes in nice weather, and what's everybody do when the weather's nice now?
agree.
Everybody's
I agree.
outside.
Bare minimum.
Yeah, bare minimum, and now, again, chief left.
Yeah, we'll bring that up with them.
We'll follow up with the
Yeah.
regional health commission.
We'll make sure that happens.
Okay, thank you.
Stacy Pritchard?
Yeah, I hate to beat a horse here, but with the aerial spraying for the mosquitoes, do we have some kind of time frame? And if it's just an automatic, then why would we have to put it on and vote on it on the consent agenda anyway?
I think the
Why
resolution
can't we
contains the
reject
time
it?
period.
I'm sorry?
I think in the resolution it contains the time period from and to.
I didn't see it. I didn't really see a time period in there. Yeah, just that the police department would be advised.
Well, I'm sure that we can add some more and better notification.
I remember
They're gonna give us.
I do think.
And I thought they had it on
You
weekends.
can call me tomorrow.
Yeah, then certainly they don't do it.
From what I remember from the last few years, it was weekdays, and we had a 5-day notice.
Okay, so.
That's what I remember. Don't hold me to it.
Again, if it's on, if they have to ask us for our permission, then why can't we opt out of it?
I think they're not asking for permission.
Or an acknowledgement.
Everybody to know that we know they're gonna do it.
It's a disease control, we don't really have an option. We can buck it, we try to, but we're gonna lose the fight.
Then they'll spray it with their own time.
Yeah. Yeah. Just help them.
There's all kinds of case studies of communities getting together and working together so that they do not have to use pesticides and larvicides in their community to control mosquitoes, and have done it very effectively. I think that for next year, we should look at that, and we should look to see if we can avoid having
I would suggest to you, bring those
chemicals
communities, bring
sprayed
those
over
ideas, because I know the communities probably have, education programs.
Different options.
So the rain barrels aren't left open and with mosquito log on it. So,
Yes.
with that being said, bring it to the table and we'll discuss it. And if we can go back, we will.
And I think this resolution actually has to do with the federal aviation rules. They have to have permission to do that. And I believe years ago, before they did it that way, they had the truck going around. So,
I love that truck.
kids used to run and follow. But you're right, we'll get the information, and if there's time for next year, I think what we need to do is draw the attention of the Monmouth County Board of Freeholders.
Yeah, I mean, I understand it's not a program that we're running, and, they're basically approaching us, I saw that. But just a couple of days looking at some of the chemicals that they're using, and at least 2 of them, I found so many reports with major concerns with them. And some of those were with fish and shellfish, and in our area that, I think that would be something pretty important for us to look at.
I agree. Thank you, Stacey. Robin Thompson? She's done. Jerry Feliciano?
Jerry Feliciano, 14 North Peak. I want to know if anything's been considered on the one-way valley.
Okay, I can answer this,
Please
right?
do. I know you.
Several months ago, before you went away for winter.
Remember?
Are you an architect?
Yes, we spoke about it and said we were gonna wait for you to come back, but I put something out there, and I have responses from 16 people in your neighborhood, and then we were going to get together and go and knock on doors, remember? We're gonna do that, so out of the 16 responses I have, one person really.
60 or 16?
16, one
Okay.
6. 15 people hate the idea of one-way and say that it is terrible and this makes it awful for them and it's a waste of time, and the one person who requested that we make a change is adamant that it must be. Several people came up with other solutions, actually one solution. which was to put it back the way that it was and surround the whole property with the posts. So we're going to go out, you and Jerry, we're gonna go talk to, some more people, and then we'll make a formal report, okay?
Maybe able to do that in the May meeting, first meeting in May.
Yes.
Okay.
First meeting in
Sound
May.
doable?
Sounds doable. I have a question. If this was done for one person,
What happens is somebody comes to the table, could be one person or they request something, we talk about it, if we agree to go forward, we then have meetings. There have to be at least 3 meetings on this.
Right, we did.
And I didn't have one person call or speak about it against it. I mean, right or wrong.
Yeah, no, and in full fairness, in the future, if something like that happens, I think we had a learning curve here, and we're going to do a little more due diligence about making sure we're checking around, so.
besides the 16 people on the street, I've got about 20, 25 people when they come up to visit me. They do not know that this is a one-way street. They don't know what to do now.
I understand.
All right, no, Jerry, all these things were taken into consideration. I feel we made a mistake, I really do.
Also, you didn't notify Google Maps.
Bring it all to the table, Joe, we'll talk about it.
That's what I'm doing right now.
Okay, so, yeah, we're gonna do it, I'll get in touch with you, and, the report will be on May 6th.
Try putting a fence in our parking lot if it continues.
Oh, yes, I understand, I see that all the time, everybody's using it as a
It's
U-turn.
become the turnaround, they run through the parking lot, and when they have.
I saw you doing that.
I just said.
I don't ever go in that side. I don't use that
So
part.
you're on 2 wheels then. Katie Reed?
With a chicken.
Katie.
I wanted to mention a playground on the beach for the kids. I know we were talking about the snowflake fun, and I just think it's a really good idea. It doesn't have to be elaborate, on the slides. Consider it. And also, the bathrooms are a good thing. I put a petition last year. I had like 60 moves, I think, on a petition for the bathrooms, and it's a class thing. Are good clean rivers kind of gross.
I think the shower also, personally.
So I don't want.
We all want this, it's just a matter of money. We all want it.
Well, now we have to wait too, right?
And also, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Finney School. They volunteered here in Highlands before or after the storm. They're coming back on Memorial Day weekend. They have like 30 volunteers. They're looking for something to do.
Wait a minute, that's my group.
Oh.
Okay?
Dr. Birch
Dr.
sent me
was
an
here
email saying,
yesterday.
do you have anything for us to do?
The coordinator.
Well, but that's not, they would do cleanup, they're not going to put the money out to,
Oh, no, they're just.
right, they're not going to build a restroom, they will help a specific, they can clean the beach. They can clean the beach, but I was just talking with him yesterday.
I met with him also yesterday, he met with me, and he was reaching out in the community too, because they may pick private property projects if there's willing property owners that need some help. But they're also looking for community-based programs, so. Yeah, he's gonna be here, I think, 2 days.
Yeah, they come, they say,
Memorial Day weekend, right?
yeah, this is, what, the 7th time here since the storm, they're just an amazing group.
Yeah, or some veterans in town that maybe need some.
Definitely.
I'm not going to, yeah, oh yeah, I'm very
Okay.
much involved with it, yeah, but, I'll talk to you, Katie, after this meeting, if you can stick around.
Looks like she wanted to go.
Oh, you wanna go? We have you.
So down the block from me.
I'll get in touch with you, you don't have to stay.
That one was that. Barry, you try. Barry?
Yeah, I'd like to speak about the Nancy's resignation. And I've had a few contractors, Charlie and Big G, and some of the other contractors contact me because we're concerned about the delays that are going to be in effect without having someone in that position, and maybe some solutions for you. But before I get to that, the building inspector, Paul Vitale, has done an excellent job in a part-time capacity. I've worked in Toms River, Ortley, and a list of places where it takes a week to get an inspection, where you don't get in touch with anybody, and it's very difficult to get the process rolling. So you can't get people back into their houses quickly. I think the department has got its faults like every other. It was understaffed in that she wasn't there full time. Whatever the reasons, being, going forward, it's gonna be a real difficult. Monday morning, if it's not open, it's gonna be difficult. One of the things we've discussed is that, there's a company called Permit Solutions. They're an expedited company, happened to be, code enforcement and inspections in Asbury Park, and got out of that, and now has an independent company that does the service for contractors. If the borough doesn't have a secretarial person in that capacity, we're wondering whether we could use this person to facilitate the preparing of that and getting our permits into Paul's hands, not to Dale's hands, in lieu of not having somebody there Monday morning, or Tuesday morning, or Wednesday morning, because it's really important that we cycle these things through. I have 8 houses in the list, and every 3 weeks, that person's gonna be looking for that house to get started.
Sure.
It's really a big concern. I don't know how you're gonna handle it, so that's why we're here.
I don't know if you knew, we put out a request for civil service for a full-time person. We had about 176 applications, which we also had, Ms. O'Neill could have been one of those applications. I don't know if she was one.
Yeah, she did.
So we got a 4-day notice of her leaving. So we were in the process of doing this, but it's at least 30 days away before that test is gonna happen and that person be put in place. I can't say names of current people, but some of the folks you just mentioned that are part-time, we've offered full-time, but they have other jobs in other towns, so can't do it. We even had those conversations today.
So we're working on,
But back to that, I was walking in and I saw Paul. I know that may have been something you're talking about, but in reference to an inspector, I don't think that's a full-time job. In my opinion, he's done a great job of getting there in a day or 2 days after getting a notification that we need an inspection. And that's really what holds us up. We got concrete coming and he's there. So I don't know how that helps us, but I know that the secretarial staff and somebody completing the package and moving the package from the start of it through to Paul's desk and then back to us, that we have an okay to start. It's really, really vital that it moves quickly.
Mr. Vitale was here amongst other things that I can share with you that, I couldn't with the other stuff, with a plan that he turned into us for what's gonna happen in the interim that involves him and a couple other people that are already on our paper. So they have a plan to go in operation.
Good. So
And
Monday.
it's not gonna be as seamless as you think right now,
Oh, we
Barry,
hope.
but we are pushing that. We've been working on it since the day I got the letter, which was Monday.
So back to the question, can we use a permit expediter to prepare our permits so that when it's completed, it can go to Paul rather than going to somebody who doesn't know, somebody who's part-time, somebody who doesn't know the process?
So you're asking if you can,
We're paying for it, it has no cost to the town.
So I don't think we'd have any objection to you doing something as long as Paul ultimately is comfortable. And I don't know if you've spoken to Paul, but.
Well, he knows this, because he worked with this person before, and I'm sure he'd be open-minded about it. I don't know if the other contractors want to spend their money, but I do, because I need it through the system, so I need to get to Paul.
Mr. Carter's gonna lead the charge. He has background in it, he's gonna.
I'll deal with Tim, because Tim is right, it's gonna be difficult, and thank you for recognizing it's gonna be difficult. It's gonna make some people upset. This is not something we didn't see coming, and I think we're a little laissez-faire about post-Sandy, about the mountain building it. Everybody in the state recognized it. We dragged our feet a little bit. With your help, Charlie there, and some of the other contractors in town, we'll get through this. Just be patient with us, be patient with Tim, we'll get done. I'll meet with you tomorrow, we'll figure something out, we'll get it done. If there's a service that you can bring to the table, if it's a temporary fix until we can get the civil service people up and running, that's what we'll have to do.
Is it gonna be like a 2-month fix? Till we get that done?
We're gonna have to, because there's a lot of people out there.
And it's a time.
It's
getting
the
warm now.
wrong time to be restructuring.
So, we will do that tomorrow, sir. Tricia Rivera?
Sure.
Sorry, I didn't see that.
I want to reiterate my concern for the mosquitoes also. I'm not happy about them spraying chemicals, but I don't remember that ever happening before, but I must have been in the fog of it.
Hopefully not from the chemicals.
My other question is about the hazard mitigation plan. And I was wondering who's on that committee, that mitigation committee?
I'm sorry. Which particular hazard mitigation are you referring
The
to?
resolution you have on here.
Okay, that's the county plan.
County.
That's the
Okay.
county plan, and Dale Lubner was involved, Dave Parker was involved. It's the milestones of the county plan that we put into place with the county support going forward. And it's an actual overall county plan. The other project that's listed for HMGP is more of a localized plan that we're hoping to get a consultant involved with eventually. But that is a county plan, and there's multiple steps of putting things in and timelines, and it's been probably a year in the works of getting. Did the community have any input into that particular plan? I think some of the items that came out of that plan or that were put forward were as a result of the community recovery plan, any of the other documents that were done. And I don't know if you've seen it or looked at it, but if you go to the website, particularly I think Table 7, shows you a whole list of strategies that the town has little check marks. And the only one that they missed, and we've talked to the county about already, was the NFIP and CRS program that we are intending on moving towards. I think that and the historic preservation were the only two bullets that we didn't have checked off that we are trying to obtain. So I think in terms of an overall, if you look at that, a lot of work went into that.
Yeah, if I can just add, we attended some meetings on that, and if you didn't bullet these priorities that Tim is referring to, you could kiss any potential funding goodbye. It had to be within those documented priority lists of every town for them to apply for future funding. Yeah, so.
What side is that on?
It's on actually the Monmouth County Sheriff. I mean, that's the easiest way. And then you go into OEM, and then you scroll down. I think I wrote the directions down for the council. And then you go to the plan. It's the draft, and I think it's 361 pages. So, but if you scroll through it,
I'll look through it.
okay.
And just two other really small things. When the garbage men come, and they take the garbage, they just throw the garbage cans like in the middle of the street. So I'm wondering if we could ask them, I don't care if they throw them, I don't expect them to neatly put it back on the curb.
We can call them, no
On
problem.
the curb, because, a lot of people almost hit garbage cans.
Sure.
They're in the middle of the street.
Especially on the narrow streets.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we could just ask them that. And then my other concern are, I'm noticing a lot of trees very close to electric wires. And a lot of them are homes that are abandoned, so I know it's the homeowner's responsibility to, call, the electric, whatever, NJ, whatever, to come and cut the trees, or I don't know whose responsibility it is, but I am concerned about a couple of these trees. JCP, right.
Or NJ shares.
I'm
So
wondering
your concern is trees and power lines that are on private property or along the right of way?
On private that are abandoned, correct?
Yeah, exactly. That are really close
You know what?
to being dangerous.
I actually think there's a committee
Trish,
for that.
there's a number, you call, you go to.
Right, but it's not my property.
I get that,
Yeah.
but you're in the community, I don't know the number, 1-800 Jersey Central Power and Light. You say, I got a tree that's touching power lines, they're gonna ask you what pole. And there's a number on the pole, you call it, they document it, they'll send someone out.
It's an ID
I
number
see
that
a
they
lot
So
of
the
it.
community
So,
can
I think maybe as a
help our
community, we
DPW
should.
guys by making that phone call. 'Cause if it comes from the community, a resident, they tend to act a little bit faster in the sense because there's a sense of urgency. Oh, someone that doesn't know what they're looking at, customer, they're gonna jump on it. But at the same time, just drop an email to Mr. Hill or somebody in town, we'll take a look at it. But if you get your effort by the community, making that phone call does help a lot.
And the ID number speaks everything.
I
But you
thought
gotta
it
have
had
the
to
phone
be on
number.
your property. I thought it had to be on your property to make.
No,
that
you just
call.
need that ID number.
Okay.
Yeah, if you have the pole number that it's coming from, you can also do that online, but I'm not certain about the tree. But if you have a light pole in your neighborhood that's out, you can go right online and report that and put the pole number in cross streets, and they have been very reactive to that. So we'll try to see what we can do about the trees.
Okay, thank you very much. That's my concern.
Barbara, you giving Carolyn the petition?
All in favor?
Aye.